So I will be with everyone in just a moment. I'm just going to text um, somebody we need for a quorum to see if she can try again. Okey-doke. So we can get that round. Okay. So Janet, where did you find the recording button?
Oh, it was on the bottom.
Huh.
Yeah, it was on
Oh,
the
I see it.
bottom.
Yeah, right next to more. Got it.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh, yeah, I
uh,
have one of those too, but it only says request that it be recorded.
right. Yeah. Okay. So we have Amy and Anna just joined us, so we now have a quorum. Sarah's trying to get in. I recommend she try one of Janet's PDF links there. And I will go ahead and then open up this evening's meeting. So welcome everyone to the December 17th, 2025 Dover Conservation Commission hearing meeting. And we have permission to have this meeting via Zoom. Pursuant to Mass Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2025, which extends through June 30th, 2027, to allow public bodies to meet in a fully remote manner. So, with that, I'm going to call to order and do a roll call vote. So, commissioners, if you can just respond with an aye. Um, Tim Hollander,
Here,
Zager Alskinets.
Elksnitis here.
What is it? What?
Elksnitis.
Oxenitis. Oh, so just like it's spelled.
Yeah.
I love extra vowels. I put them everywhere. Anna Nagy,
Here.
Amy Moot,
Here.
Sarah Monaco,
Here.
and John Sullivan here. Um, Prior to our starting this evening's agenda, we'll open things up to short public comments. If anyone has of the public has a comment that is not addressed in tonight's agenda. So is there anyone here who has such a question? Hearing none, we'll proceed with tonight's published agenda. So first up, we have Old Farm Road Water Trust to discuss a new water main. As far as I understand, we don't yet have a DEP number on this. But Janet, why don't you fill us in on where we stand with this?
Sure. So this is a new notice of intent. We have not gotten a DEP number, but I know the applicant has been in contact with DEP to get that. I don't think they received actually a hard copy, but I think that's been mailed to them now. We did publish the required legal ad. And we did receive confirmation that abutters within 300 feet have been notified. The applicant sent us the green receipt card, so that has been that requirement has been met. So you may recall at our November 17th meeting, this project came in as an RDA. There were some concerns about whether it should be an RDA or a notice of intent. Also, at that time, the new main, the new water main was being proposed to be constructed over an existing culvert. There was some concern about that because the culvert is on the list to be replaced. And there were some concerns that having a water main over that would complicate the replacement. Since that meeting, the applicant has met with the DPW director, Kevin McCabe. They looked at a number of alternatives, which is something the commission asked for as well. Let us know what other options are available. They have come up with a new design that the applicant will talk about in more detail, that addresses Kevin McCabe's concerns. Um, I think that's it.
Okay. And let's see, is it Steve who's representing? And Steve, what's your
Yes.
last name?
Steve Olson,
Holson. Okay.
OLSON.
Okay. Well, welcome. Why don't you bring us up to date on what's changed and what you're proposing?
Before I do that, I want to just introduce Chris Verney, who's with the Old Farm Road Water Trust. I don't know if, Chris, you want to say a few words. It's a new public hearing, so people might be attending this meeting that weren't at the RDA hearing.
Sure, thanks for that, Steve. And yeah, I guess just for the sake of brevity here, I know last meeting I gave an overview of the project and why we're seeking to do this. And in short, the well that serves our neighborhood well. This is a neighborhood well that services 15 homes on Old Farm Road. We're probably one of the smallest public water suppliers that are governed by Mass DEP. And like many other water supplies in the Commonwealth, we've had PFAS levels that exceed the maximum levels. And after extensive analysis on our part, we decided that the best course of action is to construct the proposed interconnection with Aquarian, so that it would connect our water distribution system with that on Walpole Street. And that's what's the subject of the plan today. And following the construction of the project and meeting the closing requirements of the agreement that we have with Aquarian, we would transfer our water distribution system to Aquarian, and Old Farm Road Water Trust would cease to be a public water supplier. So this project is really about not only providing a reliable source of water to our neighborhood, but also a source of quality water that meets the PFAS levels that are required. So I'm happy to answer any questions, but I'm conscious of time and knowing some of you have heard my introduction before. So I'll pause there and see if there's any questions. Otherwise, I'll hand it back to Steve.
Okay, well, thank you. Appreciate it, Chris. Just a quick question. Did you exceed the PFAS limits by much?
No, it was not by much. We've been, it's been 20 parts per trillion has been the standard we've been going by since the beginning. We've been around 22 or so, maybe. I think the highest I've seen is 26, and I'm aware of the discussions with Aquarian and their Ponzi site analysis. I know those levels are much higher. But I mean, it's as we contemplated remediation for our well, and honestly, we just couldn't make sense of that. Both projects are expensive, but given the regulatory climate and the challenges of being a small water supplier, it just really didn't make sense for us to tackle this and keep going at this uphill battle.
No, and it's tough running that small of a system with the regulatory hurdles there and the reporting requirements. Okay, then Steve, why don't you fill us in on what has transpired in the last month?
Sure, thank you. So I guess an overview of the project, I can share my screen if anyone
Sure,
wants to see
go
the
ahead.
plan. Okay. That's down the bottom. Do I have access for that?
Yes, you do. You should. I'm going to double click it and pull you out and then do it again and see if that opens it up. Okay, you should.
Oh, here we go. Yep. Okay. Okay, we're seeing this plan set.
Mm-hmm.
So the plan, as Chris mentioned, they have an existing water system. It ends in the vicinity of house number between 5 and 6, Old Farm Road. There's an existing 8-inch stub off of the 8-inch main on Walpole Street, and that's just off the road, so it's kind of in the intersection of Old Farm Road and Walpole Street. So we're going to connect this stub, go stay within the confines of the asphalt roadway, go across this culvert, which I'll get to momentarily, and then connect to the existing 3-inch main, which is their distribution system. So that will create an interconnection between those two water systems. And then, as Chris mentioned, after time, Aquarian will purchase and own the entire system. So all the work will be done inside the paved roadway. And probably the two complicating factors are there's a lot of bedrock there, so there'll be some digging and to get move the bedrock out of the way. But there's also a culvert, and we talked about that. And the current plan is to, after discussing with the DPW director, the contractor is going to excavate up to the side of the culvert, and then we're going to cut out a section of the culvert and then lay the main underneath the culvert, probably at a depth of 6 or 7 feet, so that any future culvert will be above it. And then install the main, backfill it, and then replace that section of main that was cut out or removed, replace that with a new piece of culvert and connect it so that the water that culvert will act as a conduit, and then backfill that, and then eventually come over here to the 3-inch main to make the final connection. So that's the plan. We did get a letter and confirmation from Aquarion that if in the future the water main has to be moved or relocated in order to install a new culvert, then Aquarion will pay for that relocation process. And in the design, we've kind of included a couple things to make that process easy. So you'll see a fire hydrant here located on this side of the culvert with a valve. That's a water valve. And on the other, so here's the culvert. On the other side of the culvert, we have another fire hydrant with a valve here. So in the event this piece in between needs to be taken offline and moved and relocated, a temporary pipe can be connected from this hydrant to make sure that all the residents and customers on this side of the culvert still have water. So that's kind of the plan, how it was built into the design. So it's about 580 feet of new water main. About 230 of that feet is within the buffer zone, and erosion control barriers will be set up on both sides of the roadway, and the trench will be backfilled every day. And when all the construction is done, it will be paved. So it's existing asphalt pavement, and that surface will be restored to asphalt pavement as per DPW requirements. That is the scope of the project. I guess if there's some other questions about any other features of the design or the construction or anticipated construction, happy to take questions.
And if you encounter bedrock underneath the culvert there, are you going to go in with a jackhammer and basically open it up, or what?
It'll be a hammer, yeah, not a jackhammer, but a large hydraulic hammer on the end of a excavator.
Got
Yes.
it. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
And it sounds like you're working well with DPW and communicating.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so do we have any sort of, Janet, do we have a letter from DPW stating that they're okay with this?
We don't, but I have talked to Kevin McCabe, and he did indicate that he will get that to us. I also wanted to confirm that Mike Blanchard, on behalf of the town, did sign the NOI as the owner of the property.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Good.
He did indicate that this Board of Selectmen, because this work is in a right of way, they will need an additional review. There'll be a public hearing and a review on their end. I also like to suggest, so the commission had asked for an alternatives analysis, which is also required under Riverfront. The stream is perennial. And Steve, I'm wondering, in your NOI, you did look at 4 options. 2 seemed feasible, and then you went with this option. I'm just wondering if you could do a quick summary of the 4 and then why you chose this one out of the 2 feasible options.
Yeah, I guess So some of the options were just an overland pipe, and that's really not feasible to have that pipe, insulated and subject to traffic or damage or whatever. Directionally drilling through the riverfront zone is not practical based on the presence of bedrock. And, any cobble or large boulder on the ground will just hit the drill, will hit it, and it'll go somewhere else, right? So it's really not practical. Um, and then the third alternative, as we mentioned at our last meeting at the RDA, is to go over the culvert, which is um, a, an alternative that has been used in other communities. Um, but the preferred option was that last option, basically going under the culvert. Now it keeps it out of the way of any future work, and we don't have to worry about insulating the pipe and the water main freezing or getting damaged or anything. So that's kind of how the alternatives analysis went.
Mhm. Okay. Janet, any other discussion that we could continue with this evening, given that we don't have a number here?
Yeah, so there were a couple other additional information that I would like to see submitted. The first is because there's going to be disturbance in the 50-foot no disturb setback and a structure within the 70-foot no structure setback. We do need a formal waiver request for both of those. Again, they don't need to be in detail, but we do need them for the record. Obviously, there's really no alternative to this disturbance. One way or another, they're going to disturb within those setbacks.
Mhm.
But just for the record, to meet the regulatory requirements, we need that formal request. We generally charge $500 for each waiver request. So that would be up to the applicant if they want to request that the waiver requests be waived. That would be up to them. We did get the property owner's signature. Aquarian did submit documentation that they would assume all responsibility should the water main need to be relocated if the culvert is replaced. Let's see. I did talk to Kevin about a letter from him approving the project. We'll be getting that. And then this did trigger the stormwater regulatory report requirements. There were three. Again, this in terms of stormwater impact, it's really very minor, but it does trigger the requirement. And there were three documents that were not included in the report: the long-term pollution prevention plan, the post-construction operation and maintenance plan, and then the SWIP report, the stormwater pollution prevention and erosion sedimentation control during construction. So since there's no DEP number issued and our next meeting is January 14th, I would like to see those reports submitted before the next meeting rather than making them a condition. I found that making required documents a condition of the permit means we end up chase those down. So I would just recommend that those be included for the next hearing.
Mhm.
And that's
Steve, you have your hand raised? Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Gina, I think you may have missed those three documents. They're in Appendix D, those three attachments. The long-term pollution prevention plan, the post-construction operation and maintenance plan, and the SWIP. And the SWIP is something that the contractor fills out. That's part of the construction phase. So the construction documents require the contractor to do the SWIP. So that's typically not done during the design process, because he has his construction techniques, and that's what they do.
okay.
So Appendix D in the NOI package.
Okay.
Jen, I'm just curious in terms of normally SWIP is dealt with relative to the square footage of disturbed property. Is there another aspect here that requires the stormwater report if they're not reaching that 40,000 square foot?
So I think you're thinking of the NIPD's trigger.
Okay, could be. Mhm.
So the wrong acronym. But so the SWIP is for anything that triggers the stormwater management requirements.
And what is it here that's triggering stormwater? Just the fact that it's going under a stream, or that there's a stream involved, or
So it's the type of project. So it's not a single family residential project. It's considered a redevelopment,
Mhm.
I believe. Yeah, it's a funny, I've never come across this situation before.
Okay,
But
but it's
according to the regulations, it does trigger that report.
okay. And Kevin McCabe is aware of all that as well.
Well, he isn't like, he has a copy of the notice of intent, yes, but he
Mhm.
doesn't, he wouldn't force or review that material.
So stormwater is not under it doesn't. Don't we also have a stormwater bylaw that might tie in with this, or is this is SWIP just dealing with conservation?
Um,
So,
Go ahead, Steve. If you
yeah, stormwater management requirement for it is part of it's a box you check in the NOI. So when it's a type of project, then you have to submit some stormwater items.
Mhm,
So it's
mhm,
a requirement of the NOI application. I
mhm.
forget what question, I could look it up, but then, so because we checked that box, then we had to submit those 3 documents that Janet
Mhm.
mentioned, which are in Appendix D.
No, I'm just curious, as similar as Janet mentioned, not having run across this before. And what is it that makes you check that box? I just want to be, is it
Um,
because it's a public
uh,
way? Is it or is it something that you check because you're dealing with water infrastructure, or is there something that triggers it?
yeah.
I think it's the type of project. So
Mhm.
there are specific types of projects, mainly if it's a single family home, that are automatically exempt because it's considered such a small project.
Mhm.
I think by definition, under the regulations, this type of project is not exempt. Even
Mhm.
though it's really, in terms of temporary alteration, it's very small.
Mhm. Mhm. Okay. Well, it sounds as if Steve was aware of that and he submitted things
Yeah,
for that.
it's
So
section C.
go ahead.
I was gonna say it's section C, question 7A. So
Mhm.
if the
Mhm.
stormwater report, so
Mhm.
if the
Okay.
stormwater management standards apply, you have to submit them.
Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you. Cam, I saw a bunch of floating hands, and I didn't know if you were trying to get your hand up or if you were applauding something. And oh, you're muted, but
No, no, I wasn't, John. I was astonished to see those floating hands as well. So I was struggling to get rid of them.
okay, okay, thanks. Janet, given where we're at, you've outlined you just got informed that he had dealt with item 5 of your regulatory report regarding the documents for stormwater. We're looking for waiver requests. We're looking for confirmation, I imagine, from the highway department that they're on board with this. Is there anything else that you'd be looking for so that they're aware of what they need to bring to the next meeting?
Looking at the Appendix D, which is the long-term pollution prevention plan, it's about half a page. But Steve, I don't see the post-construction operation and maintenance plan.
That is in there. There's the sentence that addresses that. So there are 3 or 4 attachments to the stormwater report.
Okay,
There's the checklist, the stormwater report, and the long-term pollution prevention plan.
yeah.
In which are you looking for? The
The
post?
post-construction operation and maintenance plan.
Okay, I guess in general, I believe we say that whatever is being done now for stormwater control is going to be done in the future, because basically it's an asphalt road and it's a paved surface, and the trench is going to be repaved, and so it'll be returning to exactly the conditions it is now, in summary.
Okay, and so won't require any post-construction long-term operation and maintenance beyond what the
Right.
water requires now.
Correct. Yes,
Okay.
correct. And I believe we wrote that sentence. I'm just not finding it right now, but I could circle it and email it to you tomorrow, most likely.
Okay, that would be great.
Great. Thanks.
Okay. And one more
Um,
question, Janet,
go
I'm
ahead.
sorry.
Go ahead, Steve.
You mentioned a letter. Would an email suffice, Janet, as far as DPW's approval? Because I believe they did send an email, but if you want a formal letter, then that's different. So whatever you prefer.
I think an email would be fine.
Okay.
Okay. And I think, Janet, relative to just record keeping, why don't we, once you do receive that, print it and put it into the hard copy file?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, then, any other questions concerning this, for this evening? Any commissioners have any questions? Okay, so I think what we'll do is we'll, continue this to, Steve, I think our next meeting isn't for a month. I'm assuming these are fairly minor issues. You'll be ready for, a hearing a month from now?
Yeah, I think as long as we get the DEP number, yes.
Right, right. So, okay,
So
if you
I'll-
could just, request a, continuance from, send it into Deborah. Just requesting a continuance for, till the next meeting. That moves you
Via
along.
email?
Yep, email's fine.
Okay. Okay, and I believe it's the two outstanding items are the letter from DPW and the request for waiver.
Correct.
Okay,
Okay. Great. Well,
Thank
thank
you.
you very much, and we'll see you, in January.
okay, thank you.
Okay, have a good evening. Thanks.
You too.
Okay, moving on, we're looking at 62 Claybrook Road. We're looking at a continuance of a minor modification to the order conditions. Janet, why don't you fill us in?
So this was continued from our last meeting. They're looking to remove some invasives. We wanted more detail on the type of invasives, and also confirmation that all removal would be done by hand, manually, no chemical herbicide use. And then also confirming that the work would be completed by a professional who's knowledgeable in invasive species management. And then the third was whether they plan to plant any new native species to prevent regrowth. And we asked for all of that in writing. And we did receive a document from Karen Skinner on this, and they did address all of those concerns. So I do recommend that we approve the minor modification with the 5 special conditions outlined in my report.
Okay, let's see. So is this an official public hearing that needs to be closed, or is this
The minor modification, no, it's
Okay.
already closed.
Okay, so I will entertain a motion to grant the minor modification.
Sure, move to grant the minor modification with the 4 special conditions outlined in the agent's report.
I think there are 5.
Did you say?
Oh,
Okay,
5 special.
excuse me, 5.
Okay,
Second.
thank you. All in favor? Tim?
Aye.
Saga?
Aye.
Sarah?
Aye.
Amy?
Aye.
Anna?
Aye.
And I'm an aye. Okay, so I don't know, is anyone here from representing the applicant? So we will that'll be available, folks, for folks to sign. I imagine early next week. Deb, is that right?
Yeah, I think that's reasonable, John.
Okay, great. Just let us know. Thank you. Okay, next we have certificate of compliance request for 8 Hamlin's Crossing. Catherine Walkie is the owner. Go ahead, Janet, why don't you fill us in?
So we were contacted a couple weeks ago, and being notified by the realtor that there was going to be a closing on the property. They had discovered 2 outstanding certificate of compliance requests back from 2003. The first order of conditions was issued under our bylaw only. There was an isolated wetland, which is jurisdictional only under the bylaw. And that was very straightforward. So that is the first certificate of compliance request. What was proposed was a barn, a driveway, and some minor regrading. So we did get the certification letter on that, indicating that all the work was done in compliance. They actually did not put in as much driveway impervious material as planned, so that was positive. But all the other order of conditions were met. I did meet with the owner's representative, and Rob Carlson from Grady Consulting, and found everything in order. So for the first certificate of compliance request, I'd recommend that the commission approve that. Again, it's under the bylaw only. With the four permanent conditions that were in the order of conditions, which has to do with prohibiting de-icing salts in the 100-foot buffer, no lawn fertilizers within the 100-foot buffer, no lawn clippings or yard debris dumping within the 100-foot buffer. And then the fourth requirement is that any successor in interest of the property needs to include in a new deed the order. So in this case, the only outstanding issue is that we do need to receive new deed language, and I believe the owner's attorney sent that information recently. But I have not had a chance to see that. But I'm comfortable in having the commission go ahead and approve the certificate of compliance. Hey, shh, just a sec.
Mhm.
Sorry about that. My dog
Mhm.
was not happy. So I'd recommend that the commission approve it, but that the COC is not issued until receive the required deed language.
Okay, doke. Great, then I will entertain a motion to grant the COC for this is for bylaw only, is that correct?
That's right.
Move to issue a certificate of compliance for for 88 Hamlin's Crossing, number 1,
Mhm.
with the
Um,
conditions outlined.
Do we want to have the pending receipt of the deed language?
Well, that's just that sounds like it's operational, not
Okay. Yeah, so yeah, Janet will take that.
we're just not going to do it
follow.
until we get
Yeah.
it.
Okay. Okay, I heard a second. All in favor? Tim?
Aye.
Sega?
Aye.
Anna?
Aye.
Amy?
Aye.
Sarah?
Aye.
And I'm an aye. Now, this is curious. Fill us in, Janet, on the next component of this.
So again, this goes back to 2003, and all I had to go on was what was in the file and the meeting minutes. But when the notice of intent for the barn was applied for, it was discovered that there had been substantial clearing very close to the isolated wetland throughout the buffer zone. And the commission decided to require a notice of intent to restore the area. Normally, in this situation, I would have recommended an enforcement order because the commission would not have allowed the amount of disturbance that occurred. But anyways, a notice of intent was filed for restoration of very large disturbed areas in the wetland and within the buffer zone, probably a half acre or more, maybe up to an acre And the restoration was to leave the area natural, let it re-vegetize. And then I think the intent was to see what comes up. If it's invasives, there would have had to been follow-up. But from what I can see in the file, after 2003, after this notice of intent for restoration was approved, nothing happened. There were no follow-up site inspections. And so when I went out there, I was expecting to see, a really strong, revegetized natural area, and it was all still lawn. And in fact, the isolated wetland has been filled and maintained as lawn. So it was a major surprise. And so what I'm recommending is that so the commission can understand the situation a little bit better, have the applicant's consultant show us some photos, show on a site plan the amount of disturbance, what was to have been restored, what is lawn now. In addition, the owner put in about an 8-foot wide paved pathway within very, very close to the wetlands. And none of us could figure out why that was there. It doesn't really serve any purpose. There is a public easement, and we'll see that on the site plan. There's a public easement, which is still there. It's a gravel dirt path. It's mainly an equestrian path leading behind the property into conservation land, and that is still there. Let's see. The other thing I have to be concerned about, and I did put this in my notes, is that I know that the owners were in a rush to get the certificate of compliance in for the deadline for this meeting, but the COC request for this indicating that all work was done in compliance with the notice of intent and the order of conditions, and it clearly was not. I just don't understand how that could have been missed. It was, if you looked at what was required, which was major restoration, and then the site conditions is that it's all lawn, no restoration. But the certificate of compliance request did not indicate that. And I did speak to the consultant about that, and so that's a concern. But the other concern is that since 2003, there apparently had been no site inspections by the previous agent and no follow-up on whether or not this restoration was making progress, if they were in compliance. So, things have already really fallen through the cracks on this one. But I think I would recommend, after you see the photos and the site plan, that we at least have a path forward as to how to address this. I also am recommending, and you can discuss this more at your next meeting, that we do bring on a third-party reviewer to handle this enforcement situation. This is an extensive situation here. There's going to have to be a new wetland delineation done. Because there's no vegetation, it's going to be a tricky delineation of that isolated wetland. So that's where we are.
Do you foresee the isolated wetland having to be restored, or is there an option where they could expand part of a wetland that might be on the property?
It's a low point. It looks to me, though, however, there has been some fill. So what my recommendation would be that, it'd be further evaluated, and that we issue an enforcement order that they do, a really good hydric soils examination. I would want to see that wetland restored.
And do you recall how many square feet it was approximately?
I don't, but perhaps if Rob could pull up the site plan, that would give you the scale.
Okay, well, why don't we, that gives us an idea of what we're dealing with. I'm a little confused. So we've issued a certificate of compliance only relative to the bylaw and then with the wording that's associated with that, but we have not yet issued a certificate of compliance for the DEP 0492 order. Is that correct?
That's right.
Okay. Okay, Rob, why don't you I'm in have Janet, have you and Rob discussed this prior to the meeting?
Yes, we met on
Okay.
site and
Okay.
talked about the situation. Yeah.
Okay. Then why don't you fill us in, Rob?
Yep. So basically everything that Janet said, there was a disconnect just between our field crew, drafter, and Rick for this second one. And I think combined with that, there was some confusion just on what exactly the notice of intents were back in 2003, all of the requirements. Once I had never been on the site, but once I saw with Janet on Friday, I completely agree with her assessment. So there's absolutely no disagreement. They did not let this area kind of regrow and naturally vegetate since 2003. I did add, and this was kind of part of the disconnect with our field crew. They had missed, there was this existing gravel path coming up. There's a trail easement. So I have it kind of redlined right here. And then I picked up the extension of the existing Bitconk path that kind of loops around here. And this is also kind of redlined. So we have like the existing tree line kind of wraps around it here. As far as
that's a bizarre type of loop for any idea what the rationale was? I can understand the easement there, but that bituminous loop, anybody know why there's a loop in there?
I don't. I don't know if it was for bike riding or play. I have no idea.
Okay. Continue.
And then I think to answer your other question, this is the isolated wetland right in here. It's outlined in the black dots here. This was scaled from the 2003 plans, which I will say weren't of the best quality. We had to kind of start from scratch. When I underlaid the plans, they really didn't scale very well. So this was sort of the best. I think it's close enough for depicting the approximate area of where the isolated wetland is. It is possible it could be off a couple of feet, but I just want to point that out. And I told Janet about that this was kind of the best we could do, taking a plan from 2003 and trying to convert it to a 2025 plan and in AutoCAD. But yeah, that's pretty much where we're at. And I guess like Janet mentioned, we're just looking for a pathway forward for our client. This was something that I think was either not known about or an oversight since 2003. So we're just looking for a way to move forward and bring this project back into compliance.
Okay. So which Janet's recommending an enforcement order that would address some of the things that have been outlined. And it sounds like this enforcement order then would survive a closing. I don't know where things stand relative to the sale of the property. Do you know, Rob, where if this is going to intrude on that, or what?
I'm actually not sure how that would affect the sale. And
so it seems to me, because many attorneys want to have a certificate of compliance for something, or they create a escrow account and close with full knowledge there. And Janet, you're looking for, and I don't know what your timing is on this, Rob, you're looking for having somebody such as Paul McManus come in to review this and make recommendations for an enforcement order. Is that correct?
That's right. Yeah,
Okay. And which, have you spoken to Paul at all?
I haven't. And
Okay.
I was hoping he might, I know he's going to be on at 8:30 for 90 Claybrook.
Okay.
But I can certainly bring him up to speed on this. Rob,
Mhm.
I'm wondering if you would have the original order of condition site plan that you could bring up that
Yep.
shows the restoration areas that were required.
Yep. I have it right here.
Thank you.
So I'll zoom in a little bit here. So as you can see here, this is the 2003 plan, 2003 notice of intent plan. So the area that was supposed to be reestablished was this kind of this cross-hatched area.
Mhm.
So it's fairly extensive, like Janet mentioned, kind of up all in here, all the way back down, and then kind of another section on the other side of the access path, the 15-foot wide access path. I don't know what it looked like before. It sounds like there weren't any pictures, but from the description of the proposed plan, it was area of cleared understory plants. So I know kind of around the site there are some larger trees that I'm sure were there back in 2003, but it sounds like the understory was cleared in this hatched area.
And do
So
those trees exist today?
Yep. So we located a good portion of them. Let's move this out of the way. 1 second. Just gotta move this out of the way. Hang on 1 minute. I have to move this thing out of the way. Okay. Where is it? So we located some of the larger trees. So there's like a 36-inch tree, 48, 28, 20,
Mhm.
30-inch, 24-inch, another 48. This looks like
And then
another.
to the right of that, are we still seeing an existing tree line as shown? To the right of the to the right of the path. Yeah.
Yep. So we do have a tree line. So here's the road. We kind of picked it up here, kind of along the edge of the road. Kind of goes over to the existing gravel path, and then it kind of curls back, follows the path for a little bit, and then it kind of breaks off to the right and kind of goes around this existing.
So that tree line there seems to be different than what the original tree line was, and probably due to the installation of the path.
Yes, I would agree. Yep.
Yep. So, yeah, because I'm surprised that, frankly, that they're looking for 100% of the buffer to be repopulated there. But we have no trees to show there, just a tree line. Okay. So have you put together have you given any thought to what the restoration plan would look like at this point?
Not yet. We kind of wanted to just get this in front of you guys and just get a feel for kind of next steps and how to address it before we made any.
Okay. Okay. So Janet, are you saying that we should? Well, we'll know in a few minutes. We can talk to Paul relative to his schedule, and then we would at that point. Why don't we move this? Let's see. We're not quite at 8:30 for 90 Claybrook. I'm wondering if Rob, if you could stay on, there may be something to be gained by seeing if this works into the consultant that we normally use his schedule, and there may be some quick discussion on that.
Sure. Yep, I can hang on.
Okay. Given that our next item is 90 Claybrook, and we don't have Paul here at this point, I think Rob, if you can take this off.
Yep.
Thank you. And I'm just looking through. I don't see Paul here yet.
Yep.
Just looking at Janet, why don't we bring up a few items on your agent's report while we're waiting for the 8:30 parties to show up?
Oh, sure. Okay, quick update on 43 Strawberry Hill, which is a potential 40B application. We talked about that briefly at the last meeting. There was a site meeting with board chairs and staff last December on the 9th. And John and I were both there. This is a little over 9 acres. They are proposing 20 duplex townhomes. I'm sorry, 20 townhomes, 10 duplex. And I'd say approximately half of the site is wetland. So we did have a walk on the property. There will have to be a stream crossing. But the purpose of the site meeting was to meet a very preliminary meeting with the State Housing Authority. They have a very low bar to move forward and to get approval, but they do like to reach out to towns and do a site meeting, which we did. Town comments on the initial proposal are going to be due February 2nd. So I'll have a draft of an outline of potential concerns that the commission can review at the next meeting and get those in.
I thought it was January 2nd.
It was, and Mike Blanchard asked for an extension just due to the holidays.
Oh, I didn't hear about the extension.
Yeah.
I was just hurrying to get my open space memo done this afternoon. Oh, well,
You get extra points if you get it in before everyone else. So,
well, it's drafted, so
yeah.
it just depends on the committee. But it's no
Mhm.
longer, I can no longer say that I had them vote electronically because we didn't have a meeting. But
Yeah,
other than
right,
that, I
yeah.
guess it's done.
Okay.
And I don't know, John, if you had any other observations.
As Janet mentioned, this is very preliminary. So there were questions that were asked. There was free, flow of information back and forth. The engineers are in essence familiarizing themselves with things. We knew from a ANRAD that was done, I think back in 2017, that some of the area north of the pond, there's a farm pond there. It looks like it had been excavated, and the till was put north of that, and that made it difficult to figure out where the actual wetland line was. It is a raised portion, an upland portion that's surrounded by wetlands. The stream was running very clearly on a very cold day, and so it's noted on the USGS as being a perennial stream. It seemed to be intermittently noted on several plans as intermittent, and yet we did not see evidence of that. So and then I think we'll take it a step at a time. And they're not rushing it for the winter, which is appropriate, and we'll just be on top of it with the other boards. Anything else, Janet, on that?
No, nope.
Okay.
I did want to mention the Eversource right-of-way 2026 vegetation management plan was sent out. Usually this is very minor work. However, what they're proposing this year, there must be some kind of a cycle. It's really a substantial several miles worth of vegetation work. They are exempt for a filing under the State Act. However, our local bylaw, we do have discretion to have them come in. I would suggest we invite them into the next meeting, or maybe the late January meeting, just to review their proposal with us. And then it would be within your discretion to require a notice of intent. I know they use subcontractors, and this is a much more expansive maintenance. And I think it's borderline maintenance versus expansion. So I'd recommend that we have them in maybe a late January meeting just to learn more about the project, if that sounds good.
It does. I don't know. Are you our communication contact for that?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, then if you can go ahead and let them know that. I've seen the parties arrive for 90 Claybrook Road regarding the enforcement order compliance. So Jenna, why don't you fill us in on where things stand for that?
So this is an ongoing enforcement action. Our third-party reviewer, Paul McManus, is here tonight. At our November meeting, we had reviewed a draft restoration plan. Paul had outlined a number of concerns and asked for some revisions and additional information. We did receive a revised site plan from Artie showing there was a lot on this site plan, showing the original conditions, what had been approved, and the deviations, I believe. So we'll have a look at that. And also we received a revised restoration plan from Tyler Drew from Beta, the applicant's consultant. And then Paul sent out his response to that revised plan. And that was sent out on the 14th. Nope, that's not right. When was that sent out, Paul? Your response?
Sorry, I had to unmute myself there.
On the 12th.
Yeah, I was going to say about a week ago.
Yeah. So that's where we are. So I think it might make sense for Paul to give an outline of any remaining concerns and also evaluation of where we are right now. And I know he also did a site visit, I believe, today.
That's correct, Janet. I did swing by the site today. We had talked about and I was reminded by the property owner that I had mentioned the possibility of going to the site to basically to get a sense of how much regrowth there is. So maybe John, if you don't mind, if I can share my screen and just show a few pictures real quick.
Sure.
So this is a picture that I grabbed at outside the perimeter of the area where there was clearing, which I assume is what the cleared area looked like initially. You see there's a lot of greenbrier and a lot of sweet pepper bush. There's some high bush blueberry in there, but the greenbrier and the pepper bush are dominant here and also seem to be dominant in the regrowth. This is an area up facing where that blue Jeep is up by the street. It's an area that shows on the plan, I'll show in a minute, where there was an additional driveway pad, put in a gravel driveway pad. This is within the wetland. You can see there's real dense sensitive fern in there, if you recognize that. This is kind of in the middle of the cleared area. And it's interesting because you see there's a little bit of a rise here where you see a whole bunch of what are mostly sweet pepper bush stems coming up. This is actually a swamp white oak, which are known for being very happy in areas that seasonally flood, which I think this area does to a little bit shallow area. Further in the back, off to the right of this area, I should have got a picture of it, but I didn't, is that depression that I described last time that's drops down several feet below this grade and clearly has prolonged ponding. Whoops. So this is just a couple more pictures of the work area. This is the shed that's off to the end of the driveway. The driveway is to the left there. Again, more just of the cleared area, just so you get a sense of what it looks like. This is a further view. Some of the same. I took a couple different cameras, so there's some redundancy here. So that's the kind of the general status of the site in terms of the area that's proposed for restoration. As Janet said, I did find my this is my review letter that I sent last week. Just real quickly, there's some log piles along the driveway, which the owner would like to go and cut and split as cordwood and burn in the house. She had talked this afternoon about the notion of stacking that wood immediately to the rear of the house. I said that's something that should be put directly on the table with the commission. So those log piles near the driveway are proposed to be removed. There's a pile of small pile but substantial logs further out in the wetland that Beta suggests just leaving there as a habitat feature. I tend to agree that getting those out would be more harm than good. Wood chip removal is something that they had described, but in my view, initially didn't have enough detail. For example, they specify it would be on hand, by hand, on foot, and expose to the point where you expose 75% of the underlying soil. The point being that the attempt would not be to remove every wood chip that might have gotten left in there. In my opinion, again, this is a reasonable approach and standard. I would say that I would suggest, if the commission approves this, that there be a requirement for a qualified person to certify that this has been achieved. And then they propose plantings. I'm going to skip a little bit, but they propose 470 cinnamon fern plugs, which frankly, as I was out there today, I think is a lot, because I think a lot of the area does pond, and that a lot of those might not do well. They propose 80 shrubs, which over the area that they're talking about amounts to about 12 feet on center, and 2 to 3 foot shrubs, which is not a lot, not a great density, but there is a lot of regrowth that's happening. There's a lot of small live shoots. And then probably what I think would be the biggest thing for the commission to think about is they're proposing 6 saplings. And the species that they pick they intentionally try to get things that don't grow particularly tall, but they're proposing 5 foot tall specimens, and which is, I guess I'll just make that point and let the commission decide if you think that's sufficient. In terms of a measure of success, the proposed protocol reads measure of success as 75% survival of the installed plantings after 2 growing seasons. My suggestion would be that the 75% might be reasonable, but it should be of each category of planting. In other words, they're proposing 400 or 500 cinnamon ferns. You could get 80% of those to survive and nothing else to survive, and meet 75% of the total. So whatever the measure of success is determined to be, it should be for each category of planting, in my opinion. One thing that I brought up early, and the owner told me she tried to contact the neighbor, but much of this work is proposed. The wood chip removal and some of the log removal is actually proposed on an abutting lot. So I'm not sure how the commission feels about that, about authorizing, requiring work on another property without written permission. With respect to the ponding area out back, it appears to me that it has vernal pool hydrology. One thing that the commission might consider doing is as a form of mitigation is requiring that there be a qualified assessment of that over 1 or 2 spring amphibian breeding seasons to see if it is in fact a vernal pool. I suspect that it is. With respect to the certificate of compliance, because if you recall, there was an order of conditions that was actually amended twice for the house and related work. There's an engineer's certification letter with that notes 13 deviations, which I lump a little bit but summarize here. The one that is potentially the most problematic in my view is that the engineer's certification calls out fill in the floodplain. It's not quantified, it's just identified. And I talk about that on page 3 of my memo. And basically, under the state regs and the bylaw regs have similar but not identical language with respect to fill in the floodplain. Under the state regs, there's a requirement that any fill in the floodplain be mitigated on an incremental basis when, in the judgment of the issuing authority, said loss will cause an increase in horizontal or vertical flooding. The bylaw regs have similar language, but without that qualifier. So I think in reality, the fill in this particular floodplain is incrementally very small, but these are kind of bright line wording in the regs. So that's really it in a nutshell. I don't know if you want me to pull up the applicant's proposal.
As a plan, is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that would be helpful.
So this is this line here, that the upper end of the purple is the wetland boundary, which and
I just
sorry?
I don't see it on mine. Does anyone else see it on theirs? The plan?
No,
Still the photos.
it's still the photos.
Yeah, still the photos. If you can pop out of the photos maybe and then pull the plan up.
Oh, okay.
Actually, when you were discussing, did you have your letter up in front of you?
I did. You didn't see that
yeah.
either.
No, we didn't see any of that. No.
What do you have now?
We have a picture of the Brady Bunch. Where
It
everyone's
said
facing.
screen sharing has stopped as the shared window is closed.
Okay.
All right, so let me go back again.
Okay. Okay, there you go.
Okay. Sorry about that. Whoop. All right, so now you can see that the top of the purple polygon is the wetland boundary. This is the property line here to the right of the house, driveway. You can see the cars parked. The wood chip removal areas are almost entirely on the adjacent property. The log piles kind of straddle the property line.
So where's the wood chips are the dark hatched?
The wood chips are right.
Yeah,
This kind of grayish crosshatch.
So that's significant. Okay.
Yeah, it is. It's not trivial.
Because I noticed you didn't have any pictures of those. Are they several feet deep, or how?
They are. They're several inches to, I would estimate, a foot.
Okay. And were you seeing any vegetation come up out of them, or?
No.
Okay.
No, they're definitely impeding the vegetation.
And do we know how long they've been there?
I don't.
Tracy, do you have an idea?
I believe it was the week that Janet visited the property. The work had ended. Was that June, Janet?
Oh, so it's within the last year.
Yes. Yeah. It was
Okay.
it was just when the trees were cut. Yes.
Got it. Okay. Okay. So just thinking through the legal component of this. And this is owned by the gentleman from, I can't remember, out of town who has been in front of the town relative to the potential dispersed 40B. Is that correct?
Correct. He never comes to the meeting, so I've never actually seen him.
But Janet, is that correct? Is that the same owner?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
And is this lot to the right? Is this one of the lots that was presented, or is this a separate piece of property for him?
That's one of the lots to be developed. Yep.
Okay. So the question, and I'm wondering if we've done this before. I don't recall, but so it would seem to me, even though this is Tracy's willing to remove all this, it's in essence on his property. Would it be appropriate for us to send him a letter stating that this is his responsibility until agreed to otherwise?
That might be a good way to get his attention because, from what Tracy told me, she attempted to contact him and didn't get a response. So that would probably elicit a reaction.
And yeah, and something to the effect that we're if we don't hear from him, we'll have to issue an enforcement order against him. But if he can communicate with Tracy, he may be able to avoid that if he grants permission. So that's just my thought on that. So then on the pink/purple there is over to the left of the house. Is that where in your photos we saw a lot of the cinnamon ferns and and then a little to the rear of that the pepper bush?
The sensitive fern was over in this area here.
Yeah.
And then this area back here is where we saw the little sprouts of pepper bush coming up through the snow.
Okay. And then the proposal is what we're seeing, this grid of plants there. Is the dots?
Yeah, I didn't get into it, but my recommendation would be that that the grid not be utilized, that perhaps the numbers of plantings and the species chosen would be utilized, but there needs to be more site-specific thought as to where they're actually placed.
And do you think that, for example, as you get closer to the house, that the sensitive fern would be enough, and that some of those proposed plantings could be moved further back and be denser?
Yeah, I mean, in this area over here, yeah, I agree. You wouldn't want to plant anything.
Shade.
It's
For shade out. Okay.
down along through this area, and the transitional area is really where the most appropriate location would be for a lot of the plantings, as well as in the wood chip removal area.
And what kind of plants were they recommending?
I can find that.
I think it's at the bottom right there, the planting summary also on the map.
Oh, okay.
If you'd
what
like, I
are
can
you
go
looking
over
at
some
right
of the
now?
proposed restoration.
Right now, we see a memorandum from Beta.
Okay, good. There you go.
Okay, so so nothing out of the ordinary there. Okay, can you bring the plan back up?
Sure.
Would that be just the tab to the left of the yeah, there we go. So I'm seeing a bunch of plantings that look to be on the right side of the property line down on the well, for much of it actually, but is that correct?
I can go into a little bit more detail if you'd like on the actual.
Well, before we get there, I was just curious. I want to sort of literally lay out the ground rules here relative to. It looks like not only the wood chips but the trees, but there were trees taken down on the adjoining property. As I'm looking at the lower right, I see a log remnants, and that solid black line that goes from the bottom to the top, that's the property line?
Correct. Yes.
This is the property line here.
Got it. Thanks. Okay. So not only are we looking for possibly the landowner, the adjacent landowner to remove wood chips, but also to grant permission for replanting on his property? Is that correct?
No, that is what's proposed.
Okay. So I am wondering, given the lack of response from that party as well, one of the things we certainly want to do is get things done on the property itself. And I'm wondering if we want to sort of focus on one, have one in abeyance and have the other one being more active. Where's the vernal pool, Paul, on this plan? Is it lower left?
It is, I'm going to say probably about here.
Got it. Okay.
I think it's actually a little bit further south on this plan. It's right just outside the limit of clearing at the bottom there.
Okay.
Okay.
And
is it, excuse me, Tyler, do you think it's on the property?
It's on the property, but it wasn't cleared during that work.
Right.
So I'm trying to show a property line on this at the bottom, or is that
No, it extends
off plan?
really far down. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay. So I think part of this is we don't want to have perfect be the enemy of good here. And where's the area that was potentially floodplain filled?
It's like immediately behind the house.
Oh, I see. Okay. So, Paul, your sense is that's relatively de minimis relative to
I think so. I mean, it's a very broad floodplain here. We're up at the upper limits of it. Yeah,
what do
I
we
mean,
are we at, so what's our elevation here? Are we at 108 or does anyone
I can
that seems to be the magic number in that neck of the woods.
This is really busy plan, but are you seeing the overlay here?
Yeah.
So yeah, the flood elevation he has is 108.8. And was it on a different plan, Tyler, that was called out?
No, it should be on this. And Artie is on the call too. He might be able to
You want me to use the AutoCAD so it might be easier to see?
Well, before we get there, I'm just trying. So we're looking at the back of the lot is the top of the plan.
Correct.
That's correct. That's correct. Yeah, the septic is out in front near the street.
Okay, so I'm seeing 109 running through the back of the house there.
Yep, that's what we were quoting right at the back of the house, 109.
Okay, and maybe even up to a 110 for that small disturbance there. So we're at 109, we're 0.2 of a foot off. So I think we can take that out of the equation and focus on the planting. Does that make sense? Do any commissioners have any comments on that?
Yeah, I don't think anybody's going to get flooded out by this.
Okay. Okay. Okay, then why don't we bring back the other plan, please? The restoration plan, yeah.
Sorry, I can't get to it.
There we go. Okay. So it seems that what we're looking at is what we can do relative to what's on the property. And I think we want to create a little bit greater density, possibly just by moving the plants away from the sensitive ferns. And maybe the concern there as well is to cut back on some of the sensitive ferns for the plantings and pop in some other plants that are along the perimeter of those that don't shade them out. And then it seems the other thing is whether or not to change our very small saplings to something of 1.5 or 2-inch diameter. Is that kind of fall in line with what your thoughts were, Paul?
Yes.
Okay. And And
I
I
would
think,
comment, excuse me, John, I would
go ahead.
comment though, I understand your goal about bifurcating this, but unfortunately, a lot of the work to be done is actually on the abutter.
No, I see that. So my next direction there was to say that let's do that on the existing property. Let's do a separate version on the abutters property. And that we can and then we can move forward with what's at 90 and at the same time send an enforcement notice out to the abutter. Janet, what's your sense on that thought process there relative to trying to get things concluded here?
I think that could be problematic
Mm-hmm.
because that property owner is not responsible for the alteration and disturbance. I do think that the burden should remain on the property owner who is responsible.
Oh no, my concept is absolutely the whole point is can we require the property owner for 90 Terry to Tracy to go on to someone else's property to do plantings, or are we bound to notify this person that there's an enforcement order being contemplated that because of the neighbor, but the neighbor is willing to take on all the costs and installation burden if he just contacts us uh, to allow that.
Um, I guess yes. I do still think that the burden should be on the responsible party to reach out to the abutter. I would be hesitant to even send a letter to the abutter until every avenue has been, reached. They must have an address where the 90 Claybrook owner could reach out, send a certified mail, or even a hand delivery of something. So I do think more effort needs to be made to reach out to the homeowner of the adjacent property so they understand the situation fully before it. I mean, we will need their consent. I guess the bottom line is we would need written consent from the Trout Brook property owner for this work to occur.
So Tracy, have you sent any certified mail, or what's the extent of your
I have,
attempt
yes.
to-
So I've sent two actually. I have them dated and everything. So the first one he did not pick up. The second one he did, and I still haven't heard back, but I would be more than happy to reach out again. I would want to foster a relationship with him anyway because of what might happen next door. So I am more than happy to send out another certified letter and say, mention some of the things that you all have talked about here. For example, enforcement orders, etc. Happy to do that again.
So my concern, Janet and Paul, is that this person is in essence existing, from what I could tell from a few years ago, in sort of an adversarial position to the town, and may not respond to anything here unless we told him that it was his technically, and I'd like to get confirmation on this, even though somebody else did this on his property, um, that he could be held responsible for that.
Yes.
I believe we've done that before with wood chips and things like that. And that seems like it may get his attention. I don't mind. I mentioned bifurcating. I'm thinking that strictly in terms of the planting plan, but the actual planting, I think we can proceed with a restoration plan that incorporates both properties. But I think, and I think that's what we should focus on. At the same time, we should be on a parallel basis, Janet. We should start to work up a letter that we're ready to send out when we're ready to when we have our enforcement order finalized. In between that point, Tracy, you could try to contact them to let Tim know that this is coming down the pike.
Will do. Great. Thank you.
So based on all this, I'm saying we need some larger trees, a more thought out restoration plan in terms of where plants go, And Paul, do you see any additional plantings required given how this is spread out, or do you think with the plants that they've noted,
I
or
I think I don't have my letter in front of me, but I did want to stress, and I'm not sure I did, that there should be some real concentration of plantings at the wood chip removal area because there's nothing there now.
okay, and yet those won't really take very well if they're being smothered by wood chips. So the wood chips would need to be removed.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. Okay. So additional plantings where the wood chips currently are, with the acknowledgement that they'll be removed so that those plants can survive. And I see
Right.
what you mean.
And I,
Mhm.
excuse me, I do agree with your comment about, especially after looking at it again today. I think that the proposed fern plantings could be cut by more than half,
Mhm.
and that some additional shrub plantings in lieu of those. I think you could find a place to put the shrubs,
I
but
actually
not
had
the
a
ferns.
question about that.
Mhm.
So you pointed to that area behind the house in order to move, the shrubs south. When we had looked at it in the field, we went with the spacing that we did because of the extensive regrowth that we saw. So I'm just wondering if it would be appropriate to reduce the number of plantings behind the house, maybe move some of them to those wood chip areas, but just reduce the plantings behind the house if that would be appropriate, instead of trying to cluster them in areas where, pepper bush is already starting to reestablish.
I think that
Yeah.
makes sense. I
What's
mean,
your total number of shrubs, Tyler?
80, I don't have the number in front of me.
Around 80, huh?
Yeah.
And the wood chips, you have about 2,300 square feet. So,
Yeah, and I would also just note though those areas weren't cleared. I know there's wood chips deposited there, but there is shrubs growing like closely on either side, so there's limited space to actually fit new shrubs in there. At least behind where the trees were removed. So there definitely is space along the wetland boundary, and that's where I proposed some of the tree plantings to replace the ones that were removed. Just not to the extent that we have it behind the house.
yeah, based on what I saw today, I think if you have 80 shrubs in total, including the wood chip areas, I think that's probably reasonable.
Okay. And so 80 shrubs total, and also cutting back by half the number of ferns.
I think that's
Okay.
reasonable with respect to the ferns.
And I think from what you were showing by your pictures, the pepper bush and others were, seem to be reasonably abundant for something fairly new. So they looked relatively healthy. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think so. Yes.
Okay. Okay. And then Tyler, are the red dots trees?
The red dots are the stumps from the trees that
I
were
see.
cut.
Okay.
Yep.
Mhm. Okay. And the trees that you're talking about, are they 3/4 inch, or what do you have in mind here?
Um, I didn't have so I was going by the sizing guide. I was using the Bigelow nursery, planting guide. I don't know the exact sizes of the plantings. I think they were the 5 foot tall saplings.
Or what types of species?
Gray birch, flowering
Mhm.
dogwood, and serviceberry.
Okay. And that can be so many different, in terms of height. I think we've seen pretty good luck with slightly, thicker. And like if they're 5 feet tall, but they're an inch and a half, the survivability seems to be better than 5 feet tall and 3/4 of an inch.
Okay.
So let's convert some of those over to let's convert all of them over to a caliber of a 1.5 inch minimum.
Okay.
Okay. Um, and what's our when would our next meeting be for reviewing all this? Paul, Tyler, anyone?
Um,
I don't recall.
I think there
Should we
was a
go?
January 7th meeting, right?
We could. Will you have these changes embodied there? I mean, they're not significant, so you
Right.
should be able to do that.
Yeah.
The other thing is to then send us a copy, Tracy, of any certified mail that you send
Sure.
to the owner there,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
I think maybe even include a copy or a link to this plan. Or no, actually, we'd want the next plan to do that. So we want to show the denser and plantings that we just discussed. So why don't we wait and then we'll get that letter out with the newest plan.
Okay. Great.
Okay.
Thank you.
John, just a couple
Yeah.
things. So our next meeting is January 14th.
That's what I thought. Okay.
We
Yeah.
do not have a meeting. But
Understood.
in terms of the on-site deviations that were identified,
Mhm.
I know that let's
From the original orders and conditions, is that what you're talking about, Janet?
there's a new crushed stone parking area near the road, fairly
Oh,
close.
can we keep that plan up, please?
Oh, sorry. Oh,
And I
well,
know,
there it is.
Yep. There we go.
Paul, what your sense was on that crushed stone parking area near the road. It is fairly close to the wetland. Whether that's something that should be looked at for restoration or not.
So it's permeable, right?
It is gravel.
It is gravel,
It's
but
kind of,
yeah.
And how
Kinda-
often is it used?
Hi, sorry, I just had to come off mute. It was used by the previous owners. That's how we got the idea to also park over there when necessary because our driveway is so long and thin. We just have to park behind each other. But the reason we did it is because there was mud coming out onto the road, to be honest. And there's a lot of runners and bicyclists, et cetera, on the road. So there was just too much mud out there. That's why we put the gravel down just to keep the road neater.
So go ahead, Jen. Given how it's may end up being used regardless, and yet it is better with the gravel rather than the mud. I'm not averse to it, although it would need to be memorialized as some sort of change.
I
But
mean, it
go
could
ahead.
also be an area for mitigation since they're not meeting like our tree mitigation standards. Just let that area renaturalize could be an option versus
What the parking area?
yeah.
Well, that kind of defeats the purpose of having an overflow given the other topography constraints. Was there a tree count? I mean, this is a very heavily treed lot. Was there a 50% basis that was done here?
I don't believe, no. In 2014, we did not have to go through the tree count.
No, I think a lot of it was sort of self-explanatory, given that I see it's still very heavily treed. I think, and we're looking at adding additional trees in there. So I don't see, I don't see the reason to make this overly complicated given the tree cover that currently exists there.
Okay. Paul just called out in his response memo that the proposal falls far short of the bylaw tree replacement provisions.
Okay, and you know that how, Paul?
well, because there's about 100 caliper inches, if I remember correctly, were cut. And even right now, if we go with the 6 trees at 1.5 inches would be 9.
No, now I have to admit, I'm confusing the red dots with new trees as opposed to old trees. So do you see areas where additional trees could be planted and not crowded out either by new trees or old trees?
There's not a lot of area you could, and I know the owners have an issue and a concern relative to trees near the house and insurance, although the trees that they're planting are not a particular risk in that regard. I would say as you're looking at this, you know, to the left of the house, in front is the leach field. You can't put anything in the front. But perhaps to the left over toward that new gravel driveway area, on the, you know, just basically just outside the leach field. Is about the only real open spot.
Right, and that sort of goes to addresses my feeling that if we have to look so hard as to where to put trees, that we probably, you know, did not overcut for the bylaw. I don't disagree. I believe 7 trees is a little light on that. So the idea of, Tyler, if you add a few more trees in, would be appropriate.
Okay.
And Janet, other things that that were outside the scope of the original order of conditions that you want to bring our attention to?
So it was called out that the driveway was expanded, but it's not clear from the documents where that expansion took place.
And as I'm looking down, is the driveway wider towards the street and then it narrows as it goes towards it gets closer to the house?
I think the widest part is by the new garage. So there wasn't a garage in the old house, but this does have a garage. So there's some inches there as far as tarmac going into the garage.
So do you come down and then I can't really tell, is the garage, is there a separate garage there? I can't tell from this
No,
plan.
I'm sorry. It's under the house. It's
Under
in
the house
the
there.
house. Yeah, it comes in on the first floor.
Right. So then you have it basically probably some additional asphalt so that when you back out of the garage, you can pivot and then go face
Bingo.
forward into the street.
Exactly. Yes,
Okay.
exactly. And I think the width of it, if thinking it from the back to the front, it's pretty much the same. It doesn't tend to widen near the street. Correct.
Okay. So I think, so are you right on the property line then, where you come out of the garage?
Pretty close. It looks like you know, we can back out and it's a very thin driveway. It actually is modeled on the original driveway with the original house. And we kept the footprint of the house too of the original house.
I'm going to switch to this, John. You can see
well
there is some room. It's pretty busy here, but this rectangle is the location of the bituminous driveway. And so it's tight here. It's frankly, you know, quite a tricky garage to try and get into.
Yes,
no, I think it's already, I think it would make it non-functional, and it probably already is beyond the setback for the property line. In terms of it's supposed to be, I think, 10 feet away. So I just don't see the benefit. I don't think it's and you know, given that this was there was a previous house here and so forth, I don't see a problem making, you know, out of the need to make an issue out of that. I think the main concern here is to get the planting done this spring and remove some of the wood chips, whether, you know, however we can get that notice done. Okay, so we're looking at enhanced trees or additional trees spelled out in diameter, same shrubs relocated. Any other stuff, Paul? Oh, a vernal pool certification or review. Anything else, Paul?
I think that's really the big points.
Okay.
So excuse me, I would, John, just to be clear, because Tracy this afternoon had mentioned wanting to stack cordwood out, I believe in this area here, Tracy, where it says remove log.
Yes,
those
correct.
words.
Thank you, Paul. Yes. So there is some cordwood that gets dropped off every year to the right of the driveway. And I think to get all this work done, we're going to have to move that. And we thought the safest place would just be at the very back of the house, as far away from the wetlands as we can get. Okay.
Yep.
Thank you. Thanks, Paul.
That makes sense. And yeah, so I think that's all. Does that all seem and this also means planning this all out, incorporating any of these proposed plantings into the neighbor's property as well, and we'll address that relative to ownership or jurisdiction concerns after the fact. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
And Tyler, you clear on what the changes are?
Yes, I am.
I
Okay.
do. Sorry, I'm Laura Kraus from Beta. I just had one question just to clarify. Are you looking for more clustered plantings? Paul, I know you mentioned you're looking for more of like a naturalized planting landscape with plantings that kind of follow more the topography. Do you want that reflected specifically on this plan set, or are you looking for that to kind of be adjusted in the field based on the qualified professional overseeing the work during construction? I just want to make sure that, are we moving around all the single dots, or are we going to just add a note to the plan saying that the locations of the plans can be adjusted in the field per the discretion of the wetland scientist?
I would suggest that a note, you're specifying the numbers, the species, the sizes, and a note with respect to the placement, I think is the most appropriate.
Okay.
Perfect. I just wanted to make that point of clarification.
Yeah, there actually is already a note on this plan stating that too. So.
Oh, okay. Oh, great. Thanks, Tyler.
Okay.
And John, just before we leave this, just there is on the table before the commission, in addition to the enforcement order, there's a request for certificate of compliance that does list those deviations. So I'm just reminding you so you don't lose sight of the fact that the commission will either need to accept those deviations or not. So that you will need to address that at some point.
No, good point. So and we have that spelled out, and that's spelled out in your letter as well?
Only generally. I mean, I summarize the deviations. The decks, shed, parking area, propane tanks. There was this note about the failure to properly abandon the driveway catch basin. The expanded driveway we talked about, fill in the floodplain we talked about. So there
where's the propane tank on the plan?
You see those
It's above,
marks to
it's
the
above
left
ground,
side?
on the right-hand side.
One at a time. Who has the cursor control?
I do. Is this it? I'm trying to remember. Is this it here?
It's the blue area there to the left. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, right there.
Okay.
Actually, in front of that, sorry, that's our air conditioning. If you go to the front a little bit more to the top,
here
you go. And that was installed when we built the new house. So that has been there a long time.
Yep. So and kind of hard to, it's probably one of the areas outside of the septic system that is farthest from the wetland. But I think we want to have these things called out. And I assume, so it sounds like are they called out on the COC plan?
Yes.
Okay.
Well,
okay.
I don't believe we've gotten the formal DEP request for certification or the $200 fee for the COC.
Okay.
I paid that today, actually. Yeah, I couldn't do it. Yeah, I'm sorry, Janet. I couldn't do it online. The link wasn't working. So I walked in today and left a check at the office.
Yeah, I am in receipt of that.
Yeah, thank you.
So Janet, administratively, do you see this this could be handled in two parts so that a COC could be granted if the board accepts those deviations, and then have an enforcement order?
Yes.
Okay.
But I believe we also wanted the COC letter, again, just called out changes, but didn't like quantify and describe them. We've had this issue before saying there was a deviation with the shed, but no explanation. Is the shed close to the wetlands or not? So that we can have for the record, why we accepted these deviations or not. So we do need that revised COC certification letter.
Okay, so I think the classic thing here would then be an as-built plan that is not filled with all sorts of overlays that would just note each of the deviations on a clear, easy to read plan. Does that make sense?
We have provided an as-built plan.
Okay, with those deviations all noted?
That's right. Well, they are shown, but I mean, haven't put numbers on it. So, but typical as-built plan that we filed for Conservation Commission,
Yeah.
We showed it, including the trees that were cut. So we were hoping that we can use that as-built plan that was showing the trees cut and the wood chips to be used as the plan to issue the certificate of compliance, and then move on with the plan that Beta did for the restoration.
So the plan that I saw, the overlay plan, is there a different plan, a third plan that is not quite as busy that shows those things clearly?
So what's happening, John, is we provided a plan that was the as-built plan, and the commission on the last meeting requested that we provide the overlay of the original approved plan. So that's why the plan that you saw is a little bit convoluted, is because you got two plans on top of each other. The plan that was filed, the existing conditions, and I'm happy to share it with you. You can see it on the screen, everything, is the plan that was filed by Beta showing the existing, it's part of the original package.
Well, why don't we, before we close out for the night here, why don't we see that quickly, just to see if it's
Yeah,
if
yeah,
it shows-
here you are, you have it, yeah,
Okay, so that is much cleaner than the previous one.
of course, yeah.
Okay, and show us where the shed is.
The shed is on the neighbor's property on the left-hand side.
Who has cursor
You
control
see,
here?
you see where the number is 25297? Yeah.
Okay, okay.
So
And is that shed, that's a new shed from when the house was built?
the shed moved a little bit and grew a little bit.
On
So
its boards.
move toward the neighbor and toward the back, closer to the
Okay.
wetlands.
And are there bounds at all anywhere along this property line?
No, there is no bound anywhere.
Okay, so something to consider. We're showing the propane tanks down below. So
That's correct.
I'm thinking if we can just pull these things out in outline in red and resubmit that, would that work?
So I think that would be helpful. With respect to the shed, though, Artie and Tracy, will the shed be moved onto the property, or what's the plan there?
We probably could move it. It's funny, I talked to the contractor and he said it could be moved. It oddly enough, it's where the original shed was. It's just a little bit bigger, but under the size of what would have needed a building permit. As you can see, it looks like the old shed was even on, when we bought the property, was actually on the neighbor's lot too. I think a lot of these lots were owned by the same families for quite some time, so there wasn't as much attention paid to these property lines. But I think we could move that. I don't think that would be too tough. It's a small shed. We'll just get a big machine to move it, I think.
Yeah, if you look on Facebook in Millis, there's a shed moving company.
Oh, thank you.
So that may make things much easier.
Yeah.
Okay. So we've outlined all these. Are there any other questions people may have concerning what we're expecting at the next meeting? Okay, then let's go ahead and continue this. Janet, do you have anything?
Nope.
Okay, great. Thank you very much for your time and effort,
Thanks,
everyone.
everyone.
Thank you, Paul. Oh, and actually, Paul, can you stay just for a moment? We had a question for potential use of your services with somebody else who may still be on with us. Okay.
Sure.
Can we take the plan? Can we take the plan down?
Oh, sure.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. See you in a month. Let's see. Who am I looking for? Rob. There we go. Rob, if you can pull up this plan, pull up the Paul, this is on Hamlin's Crossing. We're looking at a 20-year-old a COC request on a 20-year-old building. And basically there was, Rob, if you can circle some of the areas that were at issue here, or if there we go. So there was an enforcement. I guess this was an enforcement order. Janet, is that correct?
No, it probably should have been an enforcement order, but when they issued, they required a new notice of intent for the restoration.
Got it. Okay. So Paul, this is part of a required restoration of vegetation within a buffer. And you can see where the buffers were. There are apparently a number of shrubs were cut out among a tree canopy, and then they've been maintained as lawn since then. And over to the left there's an isolated wetland that also that whole area they've kept some major sized trees, but that's all lawn as well. It looks like the isolated wetland may have been filled. That's for somebody to determine. And the question is to figure out a true restoration plan for this. The original restoration order was to allow things to regrow unencumbered by lawnmowers and things like that, which apparently didn't happen.
Okay.
And does that kind of sum things up, Janet?
Yep.
And there's also, if you so now you have this, you can see there's a cart path that goes up in the middle, bifurcating this, and then if you and then there was a asphalt pathway, sort of a road to nowhere that was put in at some point. No one seems to know, and we'll see that come up in a moment.
Yep, pull that up here.
Yep, there we go. So there's that the bituminous path. The cart path is where it goes up the middle of that, and then the bituminous, not quite driveway. That's all put in, new or within that 20-year period, and generally that would be removed because it's inside the buffer and had no permission and the like. They have a closing, I guess, coming up, and but they're going to need to address this. And it seemed that with your help and oversight, Paul, they might be able to do that a little faster. And I was wondering how your schedule looked for the next few weeks, if you would be able to squeeze something like that in.
Well,
I think it might make sense for me to meet Rob out there. You agreeable to that, Rob?
Sure. Yep.
Okay. And then that, Rob, the way this is generally done with our outside expert is that he'll meet with you, he'll discuss a plan, and we'll also come up with a proposal for the homeowner for his services. And then they will sign off on that, put a check in escrow, and move forward. And that can usually be done relatively quickly. But I understand your concerns for timing. We don't know exactly what your timing involved is here, but this is something that does need to get done, for us. Whether you can get it done, if you can proceed with the closing, with this underway, that's not our concern, right? We don't know, what's going on there. So why don't can you let's see, we need information exchange, and let's see, Janet, I guess you could send Paul Rob's email address. Or Rob, you can just say what the email address is. Paul could, and then you can arrange to communicate and set up a meeting.
Sure. I was gonna type, but I don't see where are we? I was just gonna type it.
I can exchange both of their emails to.
Okay, excellent, Janet. Thank you.
That'd be great, Janet. If you can, just send us a two-word email to each of us, and then Rob, you and I can coordinate.
Yep, that sounds good.
Okay.
All right.
Great. Appreciate it.
What is this actual address? It's number 8 Hamlin's.
8 Hamlin's Crossing. Have you ever been up there?
I think so. Not for a long time though.
Okay. So you'll be able to find that it shows up over the years. The maps have gotten more accurate, so it shows up there.
Okay. I'm sure that's not a problem.
Okay.
So yeah, I'll just coordinate with Rob and we'll do
and
as as you suggest.
Yeah, and as part of that, if Rob, once you do have communications, if you could send the plans over to Paul for so he'll be able to review it prior to meeting.
Yes, please.
Yep, I
And-
can do that.
And,
Okay.
and also, I don't know, Janet or Deborah, if somebody can send me some of the history, that would be good too.
Yeah, there's not
Okay.
in the file, Paul. We'll send you what we have, but there's not much.
Oh, okay.
Yep. And I can send you everything I have, Paul. It's just the notice of intent plans, the order of conditions, and basically our as-built plan, which I think will be enough. But
Okay, yeah,
we
if
can
you
do-
have that NOI plan, and the order, because that will spell out what the condition is supposed to be, correct?
Mhm.
Yep.
That would be helpful, please.
Okay.
Yep.
And just another note and sort of moving forward. So Paul, at the time, the decision was made that these areas were to be undisturbed and they were just going to see what came up. It was going to allow it to renaturalize, but no one followed up on this. There was no follow-up since 203. So it's just been mowed. And so that's what they called the restoration plan, which was simply no activity, letting the area reestablish itself. So what I would envision is at the next meeting, I'll prepare an enforcement order, which is our basic restoration requirement, which requires a wetland delineation, an assessment of what vegetation has come down, and an existing site plan. And then by that meeting, Paul and Rob will have been out to the site and can get a sense. Maybe again, we try again, just let nature take its course perhaps, or do we want, since we have a new owner, do we want an actual restoration plan so this doesn't occur again? The other concern is the condition of the isolated wetland, which is all lawn now.
Right, but I think I saw topo on the plan,
Yeah.
so we can, hopefully this topo on the other one, we can get a sense of,
Mhm.
what maybe happened, and maybe, poke a hole in there by hand.
Mhm.
So we'll poke around and figure out a plan.
And
Yeah, and my concern about the grass has been there for 20 years. If just letting it be may not be helpful, but slice seeding in a conservation mix may be feasible or something like that. So, okay, then as they say, talk among yourselves, and thank you very much, and please stay on top of this. Thank you.
I will. Thank you. I'll
Okay,
be in touch with Rob.
Okay, great.
And
All right.
Rob, could you let the owner, your client know about, the course of action we're taking, and that we're bringing on a third party reviewer at the expense of the owner? So there will be some expense for the review here.
Okay. Yep. Can do that.
Okay, any questions, Paul?
Nope, that's fine. The only question I had was I did notice on the agenda some discussion about the bridge and the oil release there. Do you want me to hang around for that?
Sure. Yep. So okay, well, given that, so we'll continue this to our next meeting, and then we'll move back into well, while we have Paul here, because we have and on discussion and votes, we have operating budget and so forth. Why don't we hold that off just for a quick moment? And excuse me, Janet, if you can go ahead and bring us up to date on Chestnut Street.
Sure. And Paul, were you copied on this?
I was.
Okay, very good. So it's there continues to be some kind of a slick, some kind of a discharge continuing to occur. They're trying to get a handle on that. And so they've just requested additional sediment sampling outside the original scope. And the question was, could that be approved administratively? I'm more comfortable if the commission gives their okay on that. Again, it's not like a formal modification or amendment. It's just administratively allowing them to expand their sediment sampling area.
I would just for the commission's information, I would tell you that under the state regs, what they're proposing is actually an exempt activity. The bylaw doesn't call it out explicitly, but to my mind, it's a very minimal impact activity toward a good end.
So don't even see the necessity of a vote, since they're basically just trying to see the margins. Is that correct?
Yeah, they're trying to really figure out, what the extent is and where this material is coming, because, as the water levels go up and down, they periodically get these little pulses of oil, and they're trying to get their hands around exactly where it is.
So they have the flexibility to do that regardless, but I'm open to a motion to allow them to expand their sediment sampling area.
Yes, move to allow the expansion of the sampling area for the Eversource leak issue.
A second.
Thank you. All in favor? Tim?
Aye.
Amy? Anna?
Aye.
Sarah?
Aye.
Saga?
Aye.
And I'm an aye. Okey-doke. Any other questions concerning Paul and that? Okay, then thanks much, Paul.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Good night. I'll be in touch.
Have a good night. Okay, bye-bye. Okay, why don't we move back into our regular sequence here? So we're looking at the first item is the warrant article, the Conservation Fund annual contribution. Janet, why don't you, it's a pretty short issue there. Can you just bring everyone up to speed on that?
So this is our annual warrant article for contribution. The article itself doesn't need to reference an amount, but it's regularly been 25,000. So this is something that just always appears. Usually it just flies through. But you do need to take a formal vote on the actual language to be submitted for the warrant.
I just
Well, I
have
think
one question on this. It's been 25,000 forever and ever. Do we want to have any kind of inflation increase? Like, there's no world in which we're buying land at 25,000 for the foreseeable future.
And that's been true for 15, 20 years.
Yeah.
So basically,
That we're not, so it's not really.
it's there. We've used it historically, and I think this should be said in the public hearing, is that it's not a perfunctory thing. What we find is that by adding up, and it may only add up to $125,000 or something, and gradually get, it may never hit 200, because typically we use anywhere from $50,000 to $100,000 as leverage to enable other funders, such as the LCT or somebody such as that, to raise the majority of money for buying lots that are significant. And historically, those lots have allowed us to join trails or be adjacent to trails that already exist. So it's really there. We're not looking to purchase land ourselves, but it gives us that that leverage to work.
Pay the lawyers.
What's that?
Pay the lawyers.
Right.
Who are helping other people buy land.
Yeah. In essence, it eventually goes to the CR that Amy then reviews. So that's why it doesn't seem like it's much, but it is helpful. And then those fundraising arms can point to it and say, the Town of Dover Conservation Commission is ponying up something. Can you help us out? So that's why.
Okay, that sounds good.
So, I would, Janet, is there a specific wording that you want to voice, or do you just want to use the request that we've done historically?
So I did copy in my report, the first item is the language that has been used in the past.
for the amount of $25,000.
So we don't need to reference the amount in the warrant article. That would be under the motion.
Okay, well, what do you mean? So our motion to approve that article, we would state the amount in the motion?
So the warrant article that's due on January 8th, it's usually sort of the broad language that includes what you're asking the money for.
Mm-hmm.
But the actual motions that are going to be made at town meeting, those are not due until April 14th.
Got it.
And that has a specific amount in it.
And in the budgets that we've submitted, we spell that out. That's a continuation of other budgets that we submitted historically. So that amount's already spelled out on that, and then we'll spell it out again prior to April. Okay, so what are you looking for? How are you looking for a vote for this evening?
That you would vote to approve the language outlined in my report. I don't know if you want to read it in full or just reference it.
You're confirming it's the same language that we've used before?
Yes.
Okay. So I think we can just reference that as used in preceding years. And anyone, so Tim, do you need more information to propose that?
No, actually, I have to duck out. I have an urgent.
Okay, fine. Then thank you very much, and we'll try to figure it out without you.
Maybe we'll do it.
I think you can manage.
Okay, thanks. Amy, want to take a stab at this?
I propose that we submit the same article as last year
regarding the
conservation fund
annual contribution,
funding the conservation fund. Yes.
Okay.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor? Amy?
Aye.
Anna?
Aye.
Sarah?
Aye.
Saga?
Aye.
And I'm an aye as well. Okay, so I really wanted to get to this while Cam was still conscious here. And but now you see, Cam, how something that looks relatively minor can, expand a little. But on this, we have submitted a budget. And actually, Deb, do you have the total budget amount in front of you? Let's see if I have it.
Sorry about that. That is 227,255.
Okay.
And
so
0 cents.
we have submitted a budget of $227,000 and change. Compared to last year, that is a 227. That is approximately $36,000 more than it was. As we've discussed in previous meetings, that is basically due to moving something where we've annually have gotten internal transfers of the last quarter of Janet's consulting fees handled, within the town. And we wanted to bring that out in a more public venue because we've had a run rate now of several years where that's the case. And as optimistic as we tried to be, that number's not really going down at all. The last report, did we, I apologize, I did not print out this for, I met with Deb several times, but I did not print it out, so I don't have the exact numbers in hand. Well, I do, but they're extremely tiny. Um, let's take a look here. So and that's we're looking to make that more public. And in our conversations a month ago, where we talked about the potential for Janet's consulting fees, did we vote on a number for that? Does anyone recall?
I think we did, but I don't remember what the number was. It was an
thought so
increase.
too.
It was increased it from 88,000 to 120.
That's what I believe. Okay, so, and there you go. That accounts for the majority of that.
Yeah.
And there's an additional $5,000 there that we are asking for trail maintenance. We've been level funding at $30,000 for many years. And typically we're hoping that the accounting system in the town gets a little bit more transparent, because at the end of each fiscal year, it seems to take us months to actually get a balance on how much we actually have left to spend. And Deb this week was trying to get this information, the new proposed information, into what's called the VADAR system. And everybody in the world seemed to be having difficulty getting VADAR to listen to them. So Deb has been doing yeoman work to try to get that to work. And we also have, in that, we have a budget number that we don't know if it carries over or not, but in terms of doing minutes, we had a balance of around $5,000 left to use an outside contractor for minutes. And however, Deb's hours, as we've figured this out, Deb's hours actually include 4 additional hours per week beyond what Lori had, so that she's been, and she's more familiar with things than our outside person had been. So she feels very comfortable that she can incorporate the back minutes into her hours that she currently has. So at that point, we had some dollars left that we're looking at carrying over, and Deb received information that she should put it in a certain column, and then 3 days later received information that it had to go back into a different column, at which point VADAR wouldn't allow that to happen. So we're very close to presenting this, but the net amount still comes out to be $227,000 and change there, and does cover things in a realistic basis with what our actual run rate is. And so some of the instructions that we've been given during this budget process was to look at level services, obviously do level funding if we can, and we're actually doing both, but we're making part of that funding more public than it had been, which is by realizing that the consulting agent's run rate is really $30,000 more than it had been, and we've been getting transfers for that. So does anybody have any questions concerning that relative to our submission of that budget at this time? Okay, and Cam, do you have any? Does that seem pretty clear, or do you have any questions on that?
Not at all. I think that makes complete sense to me.
Okay, thank you. Okay, then I will entertain a motion to proceed with the submission of a FY27 budget of, Deb, if you can give us that total number, please.
Sure. 227, 200,000, 27, 255.
Okay. So anybody want to move that, and we can second that? I will.
Amy,
Okay.
sorry.
Okay.
I'll move it. I forgot Tim wasn't here.
Yeah, okay.
Can we just round it up? Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think we want to be specific.
Okay.
Then we want to see, and then we'll have an under or over raffle for within the
Okay.
board for the end of the year next year. So okay, so moved. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor? Amy,
Aye.
Anna,
Aye.
Sagan,
Aye.
Sarah,
Aye.
and I'm an aye. Okay, so fingers crossed. And let's see. Next up, so I've given you the update on the budget submittal. Then we're looking for land management work group update from Anna.
Yep. Don't have a ton of updates because our meeting is scheduled for Friday. But we're looking at the main thing is figuring out how to get the first two bog bridges in and thinking more about the planning for the townwide land management plan. So that we'll be working on that. And then still talking about benches. So I think I was going to message you, Sarah. If anyone knows anybody, we're both going to try and hire local or find volunteers because I think we're still building bog bridges from last year. So building the 10 benches we're talking about we need some help on.
Yeah, I mean, I can help you with some Boy Scout.
That's great.
That's what we did at Finfern and Feather. The Boy Scouts made us,
And do we have cut lumber from Jay that could be used for those benches?
I don't think so. It seems
Okay.
we've got it. It's pretty thick and it's all planned for decking.
Okay.
We might have odds and end pieces, but not enough.
And Boynton cedar tree, did that?
No, it's my
it-
cedar tree.
It's your cedar tree.
Oh,
It's still
okay.
there.
It's still there.
Okay.
Standing in the field.
Oh, okay. So
Okay.
it's still standing up, but it's dead, or is it?
Yeah.
Is it? Okay.
Okay.
Well, I
We'll,
mean, there might be
find
like
Jay.
a couple branches at the bottom that are still alive. But
Okay. So talk among yourselves about arranging for that to come down. That
Yeah,
may
okay.
work. That
I
may
think we
work
just
for
lost track of that. Yeah.
Yeah,
that'd
that
be
may
good.
work for benches. Yeah.
Is that Jay Crocker that we're talking about?
yeah.
Possibly.
Jay.
Yeah. I mean, he has the sawmill that could
Yeah,
then
exactly. And
cut those into.
yeah.
Yeah. So,
So we can, Anna, you and I can circle back with some Boy Scout contacts too.
Sounds good.
so also so Deb and I, we just submitted for payment for Honeywell Farms for the
Oh, good.
for the mowing, and we actually Mark Ammons, one of the bills was considerably less than he thought for the Haven mowing that hadn't been done for a few years. So he thought it might. We had approved 3,500, and he sent us an invoice for 2,300, which is nice. So and he did a great job. It looks, they all the fields look great. I want to bring up, I was at the transfer station, and somebody came up to me and said, "So how's conservation going?" Because these are things I do on Sunday afternoons. And they had mentioned, we discussed a few things, and he's aware of what our meetings are like. He'd been on several other boards in town, and he wondered whether conservation, because we deal with so many technical things. And I was talking to him about how Sherburne has a tree and trail committee, and the volunteers and that they get and so forth. And he wondered whether or not conservation should offload some of our management to maybe open space, or to something like that. Not immediately, but something to think about relative to our overall workload. He was trying to be helpful.
Haven't we done that? Isn't that Greg
That's what the
and
trail
Janice?
What's that?
That's what the land management committee is it offloading?
Oh, it is, but it's and it's still, but and it's a combination, right? It's a
Yeah,
combination
there's
of open space folks on there as well.
yeah.
Well, tell them to next person who says something, tell them to email trails@doverma.gov and it'll hopefully go to everyone's email and we might be able to get them to volunteer.
Oh, so we actually, so I didn't.
Oh, yeah.
Actually, was it? So we have an email address. Awesome.
Yeah, we just keep forgetting that we have it.
Yeah, okay. So trails at Dover, Mass.
Yeah.
Okay,
Mhm.
sweet. Okay. Um, let's see. In terms of meeting minutes, our backlog, we have a draft that came through that Janet reviewed for December 3rd. Did folks have a chance to read that? Okay. I will entertain a motion to accept those minutes. Um,
I,
Amy?
I didn't read them, so
Oh,
Vega has to move
oh,
it.
so
Move
someone
to
has,
accept, I'll do it. Move to
okay,
accept and approve the December 3rd, 2025 meeting minutes for the Conservation Commission.
great, thank you. Do I hear a
As
second?
as noted by Janet.
Yes.
Yes, yes.
Edited it.
And I did not read them, so I don't feel comfortable seconding them. Anna, did you read them?
Briefly, but I will second them.
Okay, thank you. All in
A
there,
woman of no
I reviewed,
conscience.
I reviewed them. There were very few red lines. There was, no, they're pretty much on point. It was one of our easier meetings, so it was, okay, all in favor. Amy,
Aye.
Sega,
Aye.
Anna, Sarah?
Aye.
And I'm an I. In terms of the backlog, I pretty much addressed that. Deb's has actually been
Yeah.
able to handle 10 of them since she started.
Yay.
And
Wow.
So you'll have quite a
Right, whoa.
few at our next meeting.
yeah,
This
so
is good.
so
I'll
and
shoe
so,
polish it when I've done a little, but it'll be ready.
so we
You'll
discussed. So
embarrass many other committees by that effort, I
so
think.
So Deb is looking at basically we discussed trying to stay current on our current meetings so that within a month or so to come up with minutes, and then work slowly from where I think we're at this point would be now into early 2025,
Mhm.
and then work a few of those possibly every month, and then we should catch up. So that seems to be it actually seems to be beyond theory. It seems to be working.
I think that's
So
great.
Thank
Well,
you,
like
Deb.
I said, there'll be a boatload for that first
Cool.
time because
Good. Well, we have
I can be sane that way, shall we say?
well, and then there's the usual optimism that we have, which is that maybe the time between now and our January meeting will be less fraught and less busy. But of course, but with all the holidays incorporated as well. So we'll see what we can do. Okay, Janet, your agent's report.
Sure. So a couple, I'll finish up what's on here and then I have some new things as well. The rail trail, the second public forum is going to be in the next 2 months, so we'll hear more about that. I think we are going to see their 50% design plan before that public forum. So, I'll keep you updated on that. They're not going to annual town meeting with any requests. They really need to get at least a 50% design to have a better sense of the overall costs. Regarding the housing task force, we had a meeting today. They have hired a consultant to develop what we're calling the Dover Housing Roadmap, which is to help the town be more proactive in balancing our housing needs and also the need to preserve open space. So Judy Barrett is going to be helping us with that. You'll hear more about that as the process evolves. The goal is to have a very extensive public outreach effort to get people's thoughts and get people start thinking about what kind of housing do we need and how do we get that. So there's more information that will be coming. There is on the Junction Street property, you might remember that Pulte Brothers was interested in that. We'll be hearing more about that, but it appears now that Toll Brothers is buying some adjacent land to what had been the Gobi property for a much more extensive development there, not a 40B, but probably an over 55 development. The parcels they're purchasing they're not as wet as the Gobi property. But so that's all very preliminary.
Is
But
that on Junction Street? Is that that property, Janet?
yeah, I think is it the McDonald property that borders the Gobi property?
Oh, no. So so what's the one on Farm Street, Zero Farm Street? Is that what you're talking about? Or is that something different?
That's something different.
Oh, okay, sorry.
I was thinking it was Junction, but I could be wrong. Amy, do you know?
Yeah, the Pulte properties on Junction. So if
So
they're
that's
they're probably buying the property that they were talking about putting the cell tower on. That's also really wet though. I don't,
Yeah.
and it's also the other issue with both those properties, there's an endangered species with habitat back there.
Well,
Yeah.
Of
we'll
course, we don't know exactly where it is because
yeah.
they won't tell us, and we don't know what the species is because, again, they won't tell us because people go and steal them. But
Are we talking plants or are we talking animals?
They won't tell us.
They won't.
The devil.
Okay. I
So
guess you
in-
wouldn't steal an endangered animal, but I guess it's anyway.
And actually, we have coming in. We just came in, and I was curious about Amy, what you knew about this. So going from the high school down Farm Street towards Bridge Street, the next lot beyond the playing fields has it's like 30 some odd acres.
yeah, it's owned by the Richardson family.
Right. So they're submitting. They submitted a request for perk testing there.
It's the whole thing is freaking wetlands, the whole
Oh
thing.
yeah, there's no.
That's
They
why
have
it's
to.
never been developed. It's
Yep.
enormous.
So
It's an
they're
enormous
looking.
wetland.
And do you know anything about them? Would they be?
It's
Would they
Elliot,
be?
it's the descendants of Elliot Richardson, you
And
know.
would they be interested in potentially getting a 40B in there, or would they be interested in
I don't
just?
know. They're all in Washington, so who knows?
Right. That's
So
where it
where
came
is
out.
it?
Yeah.
If you go down Farm Street on the
It-
You go
left,
yeah, you go past the playing fields, and
It's
there's
on it's just on the edge of the playing fields.
there's an isolated house, and there's an entrance that then there's land on either
That's
side
not,
of it.
that's the house. There's no
House is
house on
separate.
their lot, on
No,
the
the house is in
Richardson
the
lot.
middle of it. It's separate from that, and then it joins in the back and goes quite far back. This they're looking at, as you'll see, a hundreds of feet. There's a cart path that goes back there, where they go through the outer 100 feet of an intermittent stream, cross the stream, and then go out another 100 feet beyond that. With the buffer there, and then they reach some upland way in the back there, and they're looking to do some perk tests there. So we'll address that when it comes, as we will with the potential Junction Street there. There's Janet, anything else?
Yeah, so Zero Farm just came in. That's an NOI that will be for our next meeting. But I've never seen this before. So it's a temporary stream crossing in order to do some perk testing. So and a huge wetland delineation. So I haven't even looked at it, but I do think this is something we probably want to have peer reviewed because the delineation is going to be critical. Also, I've never seen a temporary stream crossing that doesn't do significant damage. And it's a Goddard filing. So all red flags.
but I don't even know where Zero Farm Street is. Where's Zero
That's the one.
Farm?
I had the
That's the
exact
one we
same
were just-
question.
It's not zero.
That's Richardson. It's yeah.
It's
what-
not zero. It's basically it's across from 134. What number is that one? It's
It's identified by lot numbers, yeah.
yeah, it's next to 131.
Farm Street?
Between 131 and the high school. It's really big.
Oh,
It's
wow.
36 acres.
How
Yeah,
many acres?
36.
36.
Wow.
Of which a predominant amount is wet.
Yeah. It's just a big forest of wetlands It's a big wetlands forest.
So,
Mhm.
so to be continued, but that,
Right.
that.
Yeah.
Okay,
on,
sorry, I don't mean to, I'm just, in my mind, I kind of know every house on the road.
A couple
Yeah,
other
sure.
updates. Also, our winter delineation policy is in effect, so depending on, the site conditions.
Well, there's no way they'll get it's the site conditions are forested. I mean, it's not gonna be easy to tell.
Yeah.
And it's interesting on Mass Mapper, they're showing it as a perennial, but we'll see. So,
And
okay.
then another update on the Ponzi land. I had been asked to check with the Board of Health director to see if they had approved the testing there. And because Aquarian is in the public water supply business, only DEP, not the local Board of Health, issues permits for that kind of testing.
Oh,
Mm.
okay. Okay.
Let's see, our annual report is due January 9th, so we'll need to ask extension. I just found out about that report deadline, so I will take a first cut at a draft. And then we can review that at our next meeting.
So the 36 acre, the Richardson parcel also has rare wildlife habitat, NHESP, rare species, rare wildlife, rare habitat, natural communities. So it's got oh, sorry, no, natural communities, just rare species and rare wildlife. So they're gonna have a lot of trouble with that.
Mm-hmm. So I guess the question there is, and we'll see when it gets to us. Single family is one thing, multiple family housing might be something different, and we'll have outside experts to tell us, for example, if you have rare habitat and rare species, does that preclude certain things from happening? And I don't know what the rules are on that.
Right.
So we'll find out. So, anything else, Jan?
Nope, that's it.
Okay. Anyone else have anything they want to bring up?
I mean, I'll send an email to Deborah and Janet. I'm going to be away for the January 14th meeting. So.
Oh, another safari?
No, just Aruba.
Just Aruba.
Just Aruba.
Delightful.
Oh, I'm probably gonna miss it as well.
Aha.
Oh,
Okay.
okay. Well, so I'm
So we
glad
got
that we're
1, 2,
bringing
3.
it up.
So we'll if we
Thanks
get
for bringing
Tim.
it up, Sarah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll try to weigh on Tim, or maybe we'll see Jim.
Maybe
So,
One can hope. Maybe you'll see
I'm
him in
not
Aruba.
sure
You
Jim
never know.
exists.
He does
I've never
exist.
seen
He
Jim.
does exist, and he's
I think
he's
I
great.
think
But
I think Jim has uploaded his voice to AI, and okay. Well, thank you very much, everyone, for hanging in there.
Merry
And,
Christmas and Happy New Year.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes,
likewise to
indeed.
everyone. Yes, yes. And thanks as always, Cam, for your guidance there. Appreciate it. And good to see you. Okay.
Thank
Night,
you.
everyone. Hearing no
Right, good
objections,
night.
tonight's meeting is
Good night.
adjourned.